Thank you, Lord Loretta. My name's Mandy Bush. I'm happy to be here. Today we'll be seated with options to stand. I will offer demonstrations and options for you to stand during some portions of this class. Please only stand if you feel safe. Our body responds better when it feels safe. I think we're all old enough to realize this now. And I love 2 chairs. So if you don't have 2 chairs with you today, do your best to bring 2 chairs to class whenever you can. And I will show you some options with 2 chairs when we do the standing, because that allows us to feel safer and get into certain postures a little deeper with that safety. So this is the advertisement for 2 chair yoga, which you don't have to have today, but it's something to consider in the future if you have not already. Let's pick a card from Louise Hay's Power Thought cards. Louise Hay, who passed a few years ago, is still a force. Her legacy lives on. She was the founder of Hay House Publishing. Some amazing, amazing literature comes out of Hay House Publishing. And I'm selecting a card. Divine wisdom guides me. Divine wisdom guides me. The backside says, I am guided throughout this day in making the right choices. Divine intelligence continuously guides me in the realization of my goals. I am safe. Here's the backside. It's beautiful. Divine wisdom guides me. Take a big breath in. Soak that into your heart, your being, your soul. Divine wisdom guides me. I am safe. Breathe it in again. And dedicate this class to anybody, anything, anything you have, anything that's on your mind. That's what we call setting intention for this next hour. And sitting tall on your chair, let's feel the breath coming in, coming out. I like to close my eyes when I'm tuning into breath most of the time. If I'm, seated or lying down, just helps me hear it better and notice it better without the visual distractions, but you don't have to close your eyes. Begin to deepen the breath, sending that inhale deep into the low belly, feeling the low belly and chest rise and expand. And sending the exhale out of low belly, out of the chest, and feel them fall. Warming up to this longer, deeper breath. The longer, deeper breath that feels sweet for you. And now let's count the inhale and then recount the exhale so we know they're about equal. And a wonderful count is a slow count of 5 or 6. I'll let you do your own counting so that your breath is at the sweet measure for you. The sun was out, but now I'm breathing to pretty heavy raindrops. That's probably 3 or 4 rounds where you're counting. Continue to do that, but notice the moment when your breath changes directions between the inhales and exhales. Maybe there's a count there or two. Maybe it's a half a count, a moment. It doesn't matter the length. Just notice that gap between inhales and exhales. This has a few names. One of them is gap. One of them is pause. One of them is still point. Some people call it bliss. Ananda. All right, very good, very nice. This is a great practice. One more pranayama, one more breath practice to really get our nervous system into a parasympathetic state, our rest and digest state. Inhale, a double inhale, inhale some more. Exhale a sigh, maybe to that count of 5 or 6. So let's all start together. Inhale, and inhale some more. And then sigh. Keep going like that. 2 inhales, 1 longer sighing exhale. And I will, as you do that, I will go to my chair and bring a second chair with me. Take about 3 or 4 more of those breaths, and this double inhale, longer exhale is activating our vagus nerve, which we want. We want good vagal nerve tone. It helps our brain and all our organs because the vagus nerve is attached to our main important organs, almost all of them. And they all function better when our vagus nerve is happy and toned. One more. Very nice. Hands on the lap. Let's get our body moving, starting with the spine. Sitting nice and tall in seated mountain. A nice distance between the legs is 2 fist widths apart between the knees. And then the ankles are lined up right below the knees. We look like a letter L from the side, a box. We may even look like a chair. So our shins are the front legs of the chair. Our back is the back of the chair, like we're a throne, a tall, erect throne. Reaching up through crown of head. The belly is toned to support this posture. Let's roll the shoulders back and then allow them to settle. Close the front ribs. They want to splay open when the shoulders roll back. Close the front ribs as best you can and reach up through crown. This is seated mountain. This is a great posture. We always return here. This is our home posture, Tadasana. Let's just pause one more breath in Tadasana to get it into our muscle memory. So we're more likely to sit this way when we're not in yoga class. Hands on lap. We're always watching us yoga teachers. No, just kidding. We're not. But I have had a couple students say, I hear your voice in my head when I start to slump. Let's roll the hips forward, roll the hips back. Like, I don't know if I want to hear that. I don't know if I want my voice in other people's heads. But I am happy they're remembering their seated mountain outside of yoga class. So rolling the spine forward and back, reaching the heart forward, pulling the belly back, really getting into it. Warming up our spine by flexing, extending it. All right. Refind your seated mountain. Feel like you're a mahogany throne. Roll those shoulders back and allow them to settle. Reach up through crown. Hug those. It's like we're wearing a corset, but we can still breathe. Good. Reach one arm up and over, and then change sides. And as I try to always remember, please don't hurt your shoulders if reaching up high hurts them. Keep your hand on your waist, and you can still bend the spine into a C shape with your hand on your waist or the fingertips on the shoulder. Coming into half moon, dynamically, bending the spine sideways. This is so good for us. Stretching the little muscles between the rib cage, helps our breathing. Awesome. Return to seated mountain. Feel like that beautiful carved mahogany throne. Good. And let's set the left hand on the right leg. Scooch that left hip forward just a tinch. Refine the tall posture and then start allowing the spine to twist to the right, from low belly to ribs to shoulders to eyeballs. Inhaling length, exhaling feeling strength. Inhaling tallness, length, exhaling strength. One more. And then release the hands, allow the spine to unwind. Pause in seated mountain, one breath. Switching sides, right hand to left leg, left hand holds the back, somewhere behind you on the chair seat. Finding length and twisting to the left from the bottom, low belly, up, the ribs, shoulders, eyeballs. I don't like to say head twist to the left, the chin twist to the left, because sometimes we tend to crank the neck a little too hard. So let the head go, let the head follow the eyes. And that's usually kinder to our neck. Breathe, breathe in length, breathe out strength. Breathing in length, and the exhale, we feel that strong core squeezing, everything squeezing to the middle column of our body. I'm so happy you all came to yoga today. October 11th, it's a good day to practice yoga. Release the hands, come on forward. Find your seated mountain. I'm renaming it throne, the king and queen's throne. That is the posture for today. All right, let's pinch the thumb and first finger together and reach one arm forward, one elbow back. So a gentler twist, we are feeling the waist twist left to right as we jog the arms. And please reach over on a diagonal, reaching to the other corner. So that arm is crossing the midline. I like to lift the opposite heel. Please do if that's something your lower body enjoys. Some of my students like to keep their legs still and just concentrate on the upper body. That's great. Other students who like to kick the whole leg out, they usually take it a little slower. You're kicking the whole leg out and pretending they're tapping the opposite baby toe with a magic wand. I don't really know if they are pretending that, But when I do it, that's what I pretend. Like I have a magic wand and I'm tapping the opposite baby toe. Good. Let's pause in seated mountain. Everything still for a moment. Palms face up. Roll the shoulders back. Corset the ribs. Reach up through crown. Our king and queen throne posture. Turn the palms back down and let's start to hula hoop, nice and slow, using our tummy muscles to control the slow stirring of the pot. In yoga, the language is Sanskrit, and they refer to our torso as a pot. I think the Sanskrit term is Jathara. Let's change direction, stir the pot the other way. Good. And pause in seated mountain. Here we're coming to our sun salutations to get our lower body, upper body warmed up even more. And this is where we have the option to stand and use the chair in front of us that we're sitting on for safety. If you do have two chairs, this is what I mean by feeling extra safe and feeling some postures even deeper with the second chair. If you have one chair or two chairs, one is in the first chair is in front of you. If you have one chair, it's in front of you. If you have two chairs, there's one in front and one behind. And so come to a stand with your hands on the chair in front of you. If you're seated, so we stand on standing mountain. So if you're seated, find seated mountain. If you're standing, find standing mountain. Feet are hip distance apart, maybe a little wider. The wider they are, the better our balance can be. Again, we tone the belly to support the back, corset the ribs, roll the shoulders back, and allow them to settle and reach up through crown. Same posture as seated, just our knees and hips aren't bent. If you're seated, if you're standing, let's take 3 sun breaths. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, press the hands together as they float down in front of the chest. 2 more, your breath. Inhaling to reach out or up. Exhaling, pressing the palms together. 1 more. Good. Inhale, reach up. Everybody reach up, whether you're seated or standing. Exhale, palms together. Start to hinge at the hips. If you're seated, place your hands on your thighs eventually to support the back as it hinges forward. If you're standing, put the hands on the chair in front of you. If you're standing, keep the knees bent and stick your butt out behind you. Stretch your arms out overhead. If you're seated, the hands slide down the legs and the head may drop. If you feel too much pressure in the eyes, or if that bothers the neck, do not drop the head. Let's take 3 breaths in our forward fold. Those of you seated, this is Uttanasana. It's called intense forward fold. For those of us standing, this is a version of downward facing dog, the famous down dog posture that most people have heard, even if they don't practice yoga. 1 more breath. Good. Those seated, put your hands on your lap and push yourself up halfway. The torso stops at 45 degrees. Those standing, place your hands on your thighs or the back of the chair. And this is where we arch the back, like in cat-cow. The belly sinks, the hands can be on the thighs. We're all going into cobra, but it's going to look a little bit different for those seated and standing. Hands up in front of the shoulders or on the back of the chair. Scoop the chest up. We're arching the back. Everybody's arching the back. The chest is scooping up and looking forward. Breathe. Those seated, push yourself upright. Those standing, come up to standing mountain, walking the feet closer to the chair so that we don't have to lean forward when our hands are on the chair. We can be erect, shoulders stacked over hips. It's called Ardha. That's a sun salutation, Surya Namaskar. And we pause always in our seated mountain, standing mountain to allow the blood flow, the energy flow to recalibrate. A lot happens. All right, the next round I will do seated and talk the standers through it. So in our seated or standing mountain, lengthen, support the spine with corseted ribs and a zipped up belly. Let's all inhale and reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. If you're standing, the feet step back and you look like a upside down letter L. The arms are overhead, hands resting on the back of the chair. If you're seated, we're moving into full forward fold with the head down, arms down. Standers stay in the figure 7 or upside down L, reaching the sit bones back. If you can bend your knees slightly without them buckling, bend your knees slightly, and that allows your pelvis to tilt like you're a cat reaching your tail up. That's for the standing people. Breathe, and the arms are out long as possible. Hands on the chair. That's the downward facing dog pose, standing with the chair. One more breath. Moving into cobra, which is a back bend. The people on the chair put their hands on their thighs and push their torso up, pausing halfway. The people standing, well, we can all of us can roll our shoulders back, allow them to settle. The hands float up in front of the shoulders for the people seated. The chest reaches forward for everybody. We're curling the spine so it looks like a smile from the side. Breathe. People standing, walk forward so you're closer to the chair and can stand upright. Those of us seated, push your arms forward, torso upright, all of our shoulders stacked over the hips. Pause in your mountain, whether it's standing or seated, and feel the effects of the sun salutation. There are many. You may not feel any, but we're collecting here, we're integrating, we're recalibrating. The sun salute process is folding, unfolding, folding, unfolding, forward fold, back bend. So it's a lot happening. That's why they're good for us. All right. If you're standing, please find a seat. Well, you don't have to do this seated, but please make sure you feel safe. We'll be moving our arms, so you won't be able to hold on to the chair the entire time. you may be able to figure out how to hold onto the chair one hand at a time, and that's fine. We'll be moving one arm. We're alternating arms. Hopefully that makes sense. Have a seat on your chair or find standing mountain. These are called karate punches, and this is good for upper body strength and also for balance. We start with our hands in a gentle fist and we punch forward. So if you are standing, hold the chair with one hand, punch forward with the other, then bring the hand back. Hold that chair with that hand and then punch the other arm forward. If you're seated, the arms can be free. We're alternating punches. Make sure your posture is supported by the low belly and the corseted ribs. I like to look in the direction where I'm punching. My head stays still. It's facing forward. My eyes are moving. I have specific points in my room that my hands are not reaching, but they're punching in that direction. Okay, that's the forward punch at like shoulder height. Pause there. The next ones are down low. So we have to move the head a little bit. We look to the outside of the opposite leg and punch the opposite arm that way, and then to the other side. So it's low and out. Good, a couple more, one on each side, and then pause. The next set is high. So somewhere up, like maybe to the corners of the room where the crown molding meets the corners, or the vent, the air vent, whatever. Find a focus and send your punch in that direction. Good. Pause there. Take a moment to collect and integrate in your standing or seated mountain. We're doing 4 directions. We did forward, down, up. The next one is all the way to the side. So it's a bigger twist than the forward. It's all the way to the side. Find your speed too. Some of us may have to do it slow, especially if we're holding the chair seat with the opposite hand. Some of us may want to do it fast, and each day is different. So if you decide to practice this on another day, play with a different speed. When we change up things, whether it's speed, direction, whatever, we're creating stronger neural pathways. Pause here. That's all 4 directions. And we're going to put it all together. So we're all going to look very different right now because all 4 directions will look a little different on the range of motion, and the speed will look different. You do you. I'll do me, you do you. We have to keep this practice very customized to our personal needs. That's the value of this practice. Forward. Next direction is down to the outside. Next direction is up to the outside. If this hurts your shoulder, stay low. And then way to the other side. Bigger twist. All right, let's pause in our Queen and King throne if you're seated, standing mountain if you're standing. Let that all soak in. Now, it was taught to me by Lakshmi Volker about 13 years ago. She was actually one of the very first people to develop chair yoga for her best friend who happened to have MS and couldn't get down on the mat anymore. And she has a fabulous training program. And she just came out with a new book. I'm so proud of her. All right. Row, row, row your boat time. So if you're standing, you'll want to sit for this. Please find your chair and safely sit down. Starting in seated mountain. Let's practice hinging first. Place your thumbs in the hip creases. That's where we fold. It's really nice to return to the basics of hinging. We don't want to hinge like we're doing cat-cow. The spine is not flexing and extending here. The spine is just nice and straight and strong. And let's reach for our oars and then pull them back by bending the elbows. Reach for your oars and pull them back. And actually, you don't even have to let go of the oars. We're now rowing the boat. Squeeze when your elbows are back. Squeeze them back. Feel that nice stretch of the chest and the contraction of the muscles between the shoulder blades. We're dipping our oars in with a long stroke. We have a long way to go. We're rowing. Where are we rowing to? Okay, for those of you in Detroit, when I was in Detroit, I say we're rowing around Belle Isle. So beautiful. I love rowing around Belle Isle. We can say we're rowing to down the Mississippi River. Squeeze those elbows back. Great thing to practice. So we're leaning forward and stretching, pulling the elbows back and leaning back too. We get some core strength there. Folks, this is so easy to remember. I think we all know how to row. Put on your favorite song with a good rhythm and row. Most of you have probably noticed that, and maybe this doesn't apply to all of you, but what I've noticed with Parkinson's is good music with a nice beat, like music we like from the 60s, helps our movement. Walking, rowing on our stationary bike. All right, let's take a break. Woo, woo, woo. And then give your shoulders some love, give your arms some love, squeeze them, give them a little tapping. I have one of my super duper great students, Tom. He's passed away. He was a much older gentleman. He was my student for a long time. He had Parkinson's for like probably the last 20 years of his life. And he would come and he would drive his convertible yellow Mustang. I think it was a Mustang. It was a really cool car. And he couldn't walk into the yoga studio. He had a thing about the thresholds. He didn't, but his Parkinson's did. So we finally figured out if we played the 4 tops, he would just walk right over the threshold, right through the door with like no problem. So his Parkinson's liked the 4 tops. It took us a while to figure that out, but it was great playing the 4 tops, and he would just walk right in the room when class started and right out when class ended. And he was very happy about that. I miss him dearly. All right, let's wag the knees in and out, getting down the lower body. And thank you for, you don't have a choice. You're my captive audience. You get to hear my reminiscent stories. Rub the thighs briskly. Giving them some attention. Anytime we rub a body part, our thighs, our arms, it brings us into present moment. It's a mindfulness trick. Okay, so we are going to warm up the ankles, roll the ankle nice and slow. We're warming up the knees and ankles for chair pose, which I call sit to stand. Change directions with the ankle. And then we can do a couple standing postures from the chair or standing. And hopefully I can explain those. So when you're doing one way or the other, you'll know what you're doing. Point and flex, nice and slow. And then put the foot back down, circle the other one. Draw a circle with that big toe. Oh, snap, crackle, pop. This ankle is always so noisy. Change directions. Point and flex, nice and slow. Feel the full range of motion. And then put that foot back to seated mountain. Hinge forward and hold the right thigh with the hands, the interlaced fingers, our stirrup grip. And then when you unhinge, sitting upright, the leg comes with you. Let's just straighten and bend the knee. Please flex the ankle so the toes are pointing up when the leg is straighter, warming up the knee joint. Good. Next time the leg is bent or down, bend the elbows and pick the thigh up closer to you, but lean towards the thigh. So we're compressing the belly towards the thigh. Good. And now circle that thigh using your arms. Change directions. Okay, pause when your leg is more neutral. Re-straighten and reach out to the heel. So go a little straighter than before, perhaps. So there's a little more stretching in the back of the leg. The toes are up, the heel is very active. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Good. Set that foot down, shake it out, bounce it out. And as you bounce, wag it. Bounce and wag, bounce and wag. Gosh, this hour goes so stinking fast. And now figure 8, that leg. Sideways figure 8. Good. Pause in your seated mountain. Notice if that leg feels different than the other leg. Okay, hinge forward, stirrup grip under left thigh, all the way to webbings. Include your thumbs. Sit back upright, the leg will come with you. What the heck did we do? Let's bend and straighten, bend and straighten. I get carried away on one side and then it's a challenge to remember all those things. Toes up, so the ankle is flexed. It's warming up the knee joint. Any speed will do. All right. When the lower leg is pointing down, circle. So now we're using our arms. We're using our arms to lubricate the hip joint, the ball and socket joint. Change directions. All right, back to where we started, holding the leg with our stirrup grip, re-straighten the leg. And now we activate it a little bit more than when we were bending and straightening by reaching out through the heel. Powerful reach through the heel, toes are up, breathe, breathe, breathe. Rebend the knee, set the foot on the floor, bounce it. This is kind of like free form. We want to feel loosey-goosey at this when we're doing this. And then wag it as it bounces. Excuse me. And then we organize that loosey-goosiness into the infinity, the horizontal figure 8 pattern. Somebody's got a frog in their throat. Maybe it was that Cajun spice shrimp I had last night. All right. So now we go to sit to stand. Sit to stand. So for those of us who are staying on our chair, you do not have to stand up. The body will think it's standing regardless. For those of you, the next postures are going to be tree and a warrior. A tree, warrior, and probably a triangle. So 3 standing postures, and then we'll go to the other side. I'm just giving you a heads up if you need to decide if you want to stand or not. We will do 2 rounds, each side twice. I will do the first one seated, the second one standing. So if you want to do that, you certainly can. If you want to do both standing, that's fine. If you want to do both seated, that's fine. Just do the second round the way I did the first round. That sounded way too complicated. We're doing 2 rounds each side, getting first to sit to stand, which is technically chair pose. Feet are wider than hip distance, toes are pointing out. How far depends on how you feel the strongest in your rooting. Excuse me, I need to shut the curtain a little bit. The sun is out, yay, but it's affecting the camera. Okay, so distance apart and distance towards you. I like to have my heels a little closer to me than in seated mountain and a little farther apart. Hinge forward and push your feet down into the floor. So the pushing down, when we push down, we feel a lift. Push down, feel a lift because our other muscles are engaging, contracting, lifting us up off the chair. It's called root to rebound. Equal and opposite energy. We can hinge forward farther, stick our arms out, put our arms on that second chair or a counter or a wall and push down and scooch our weight a little more forward. Maybe we can hover over the chair or pretend we're hovering over the chair. All right. And then if you are deciding to stand with something in front of you or your hands on your thighs or an invisible thing under your hands, shift the weight forward, keep pushing down, and it'll make the legs straighten. And then move your chair, whether it's your only chair or your second chair in front of you. Okay, the first posture is tree pose. So for those of us seated, put the weight in the left leg. If you're standing, bend the right knee and the weight is in the left leg. Make sure you're standing close enough to the chair where you're upright. You don't have to lean forward to reach the chair. Pull the chair closer to you or step closer to the chair. We all bend the right knee and allow it to drop to the right, point to the right, whether you're seated or standing. The right foot can slide up the leg, whether you're seated or standing. If you're seated, some people can set that right foot right on the chair seat next to their thigh. I've never been able to do that, but maybe your body can. A block is nice under that right foot. Breathe. Safety first. If you're standing, please make sure you use the chair. One hand can go to the heart, Anjali Mudra, half Anjali Mudra. Maybe two. If you're seated, two is probably possible. If that one hand's at the chest, maybe it can lift up. If two hands are at the chest, maybe both can lift up. Breathe. Here we have, whether it's one or two hands up, we have a rooted left foot and a lifting arm or arms. There's a traction there. We're long and strong and reaching in both directions, down and up, down and up. All right, we come out of it the same way we went in, but backwards. One hand down, and then the other if both are up. And then the foot returns to mountain last, seated or standing. Pause in your mountain, and now start thinking about the right foot. We're asking our right foot to hold us up, whether we're seated or standing. So root that right foot down, feel it, make it one with the floor or whatever it's on. Bend the left knee and re-feel the right. Left knee points to the left. And then maybe slides up higher. So here we have our lower body in the tree position. And we can now pay attention to the upper body. Maybe one hand to Anjali Mudra, maybe both. Maybe our branches grow, one branch or both branch. This posture is teaching our nervous system, whether we're seated or standing, it doesn't matter. It's teaching our nervous system that we can be steady. We might be wobbling, our ankle's wobbling. That's normal. That's our nervous system keeping us upright. It's teaching our nervous system that we can be safe even if we're asymmetrical. Asymmetrical. One side looks different than the other. Okay, hands down and then the foot down. Shake it out. Next posture is warrior one. I'll show the standards in case you're doing 2 rounds standing. Come so that your right hip is, your right side is facing the chair and your right hand is on the chair. The right foot points to the chair and the left foot steps back and we bend the knee. This is not warrior one, it's warrior two. I misspoke, I think. And the left arm reaches out behind. In the chair, we walk the right knee out in any direction. We point the foot in the same as the knee, and we heel toe the left leg out to the side so the foot stays on the floor. This is the full expression on the legs. This does not work with my knee on my left leg and my hip. So I keep that knee bent. So my legs look more like an L from up above. How straight the left leg goes when you're seated is determined by your knee and hip. In other words, you don't want to feel pain. So let's reach the arms out to T. If you're standing, keep that right arm on the chair. The drishti is off to the right. Breathe. Good. We're going to go right into triangle. So shift the ribs to the right. It's like somebody's pulling your shoulder, has the shoulder of your shirt, and they're pulling you right, right, right. When you can't shift to the right anymore, if you're standing, set the hand on the chair seat down lower. If you're seated, put your elbow on your right leg and then reach up with the left arm. Breathe. This is a twist, so you can probably feel your right arm, whether it's on the chair or the leg, to help open the torso, the pat, the jathara, to the front. Breathe. All right. The left hand returns to the hip. The gaze returns down to either the chair that the right hand is on or the right leg. And we tilt upright, reaching arms out to the sides, right hand on the chair seat if you're standing. And then everything looks forward. If you're standing, you turn to the right, so you're facing the chair. Seated, heel toe your feet together, back to center. All right, so we did 2 rounds of tree. Let's do warrior 2 and triangle on left side. If you're standing, turn so your left side is facing the chair, and you're holding the chair, the back of the chair with your left hand. If you're seated, walk the left leg out. It stays bent. The knee is over the ankle. The toes are pointing the same direction as the knee. And we walk the right leg behind, out to the right. As far as the hip and the knee are happy. Standing, legs are in one line, feet are in one line. We're lunging into the left knee. If you're standing, it's very important that that knee stays over the ankle. It's not going in front of it. It's hard on the knee joint otherwise. Let's start with our right hand on the hip, left hand on the hip if you're seated, left hand on the chair if you're standing. Reach the right arm out straight, turn the head left. If you're seated, the left arm can float up. So now you're looking at your left hand. If you're standing, the hand can stay on the chair if you need it for support, for sure. Breathe. So we're looking in the direction where our upper body is going to travel for triangle. We're moving right into Trikonasana, triangle. Shift the ribs to the left, shoulders shift left. When you can't shift anymore, place the hand on the chair seat. The right hand returns to the hip or the forearm on the left thigh. Let's roll the right shoulder back to start that twist. The pat is twisting open to the front. Breathe, and maybe the right arm reaches up. Awesome. If the arm is up, put it back on the waist or hip. Gaze changes. We turn our head to look down to the left foot or the chair, and we're going to place our hand on the chair and then prop ourselves up back to warrior 2. And then hold on to the chair, step forward. So you're standing behind the chair. For those in the seat, heel toe the legs to seated mountain. Oh my gosh. We got 4 minutes, folks. If you are standing, you have an option. Here are all the options offered to you today in today's yoga class for Shavasana. Lie down on the floor for Shavasana. Lying down on your back, keep your knees bent initially. If you have 2 chairs, door number 2 for Shavasana. 2 chairs, put your legs up on the chairs. And do your best to support the calves. Oh, I like this option. See? This is why I advertised 2 chairs at the beginning of class. I like this option. If you only have 1 chair, no worries. A footstool will do. A couple blocks with your feet on blocks are great. Or just sit back in your chair. We're still upright. The knees are a comfortable distance apart. The feet are just where they would land naturally. You don't need them in mountain position. Let's shrug the shoulders up to the ears and roll them back. If you're lying down on the floor, you can still do this. Shrug and roll them back towards the floor. If you're seated, roll them back behind you. And then just allow them to settle there. If you're lying on the floor, the arms are out to the side, about a comfortable angle from the body. They're not in too close, they're not far apart. If we're seated, instead of our arms just hanging, set them on your lap, palms up or palms down, whatever feels good. Allow the eyes to drift closed. If you need to see, just have the lids closed most way. You can see down the bottoms of your eyes. And allow everything to settle. Imagine that you're a snow globe after it's been shook up. Just allow those snowflakes to settle down, down, down. Everything just floating, settling down. We did a lot today. And now it's time to come to conscious rest, purposeful rest. We're consciously allowing settling, a sinking, a letting go. I like to imagine everything in my body getting a little heavier on each exhale. And if you feel settled, once you feel settled, and if you're still working on that, please continue. Just use the snow globe visual, the feeling of heaviness, whatever works for you. And if you think you have gotten to the point of the most settled, enjoy the stillness of the body. Enjoy the stillness, the rhythm of the breath. And without controlling the breath, letting the breath happen naturally, seeing, feeling this rhythm as a quiet background whisper. Almost like if you're a cat owner or know of a cat, that purring in the background. Beautiful. Place a hand on your heart, another hand on belly. Feeling the temperature of your hands on your body. And we place a hand on heart, hand on belly. Are areas that represent creativity and love. And then the other hand floats to the heart as well, protecting, holding, honoring the space of love, pure love, our heart center, where we hold the spark of the divine. Place your hands together in Anjali Mudra, feeling the left hand connect to the right hand connect to the left. Lift your chest to the thumbs and bow your head to the hands. We bow with gratitude for our safety, for those that love us and those that we love. We bow in gratitude for the joy, the moments of joy. And may all beings on this planet be safe, loved, and know peace. May they know peace. May we know peace. Namaste.